I'm back here talking with Steve Davis from Baker Marketing about content marketing for small businesses. In part one, we covered a bit of the introduction to content marketing, what it's all about, and in part two, we're going to be looking into sort of how to do it and what businesses can sort of start getting into it. Welcome back to the show, Steve.
Thanks, Nick.
So let's start off with what are some typical pieces that of content or content marketing that many sort of small business owners might have sort of seen around the place, they might all be doing, just to sort of get an idea of what some things are out there?
If you've known me for more than 10 seconds, you would know that I'm going to start with the blog. I believe blog articles are almost like the DNA. They're the foundation building blocks for content marketing for just about every business type. And the reason being is this sort of content is very, very versatile. First of all, once we've sat down and worked out, as we talked about in part one, thinking through a marketing strategy, where are what are the challenges facing the business, how do we try and draw more people into our world, and what sort of people are we after? Once we've got that sorted out, then we can start thinking about the questions that are going to be floating around in those people's minds on their journey towards your product or service. And blog articles are a great way to lay the bait out there, if you like, and we're talking online particularly here. Google, the search engines, seem to have a love affair with blog content. Typically, blog articles are short, they're to the point, and they're focused on a particular topic, and they're updated regularly. All the things that search engines like, so that when I go looking for something, which might be how to choose a good sunscreen for my 4-year-old, it's beholden, I think, upon anyone who's in that cosmetics game, who's making those sort of pharmaceutical products that are sunscreens for infants, have anticipated some of those questions and has got a blog post with a title as specific as that or close to it, as they're anticipating all the different questions that mums and dads might be plugging in, and indeed childcare managers, etc., might be plugging in to do a bit of research before they make decisions on what sunscreen, for example, they're going to be buying. So blog content is great there because it's easy to produce once you've got some training in just what the basic elements are. The search engines love it. And I also think that if a schedule is going to be stuck to of producing it regularly, it's, to me, the most potent bit of professional development anyone could ask for, because someone in that business or a small team is going to be giving themselves permission and also exercising the discipline to sit down once a week or once a fortnight, whatever it might be, to write something that actually brings the world of their prospect together to their world in a way that helps Google, the great matchmaker in the sky, bring them together. And I don't know that you can actually buy that sort of professional development anywhere. It almost has to be done in-house, from meditating on the marketing plan and meditating deeply on the ideal person you're trying to court through your marketing. So that was a long answer.
No, that's good. That's great stuff. And I'm glad to hear that you're, an evangelist for blogs, because I'm also in that camp as well, and I love the blog medium. And the good news for business owners, of course, is that it's so easy to get into blogging with systems like WordPress out there, which are free, and you probably may need some help to set it up the first time, but after that it's fairly easy, fairly intuitive to get in there and just start using it.
And one of the things on top of that, and yes, my heart just skipped a beat when you mentioned WordPress. I've got a strong love affair for that. In fact, my default position, if anyone's looking to build a website these days, is, well, it's in WordPress unless you've got a really good reason otherwise. I was actually seeing some figures of the top 1 million websites on the planet, and 68% of them are in WordPress. That is a staggering figure. It broadens out to about 1 in 5 when you take the whole internet, but in the top 1 million websites, that is a big chunk. Anyway, I digress. There was something you mentioned there I was going to react to. WordPress being oh yes, the other thing about blog articles is they're easy to share, because most WordPress and other blogging software and content management system software does make it easy, if I like an article, to flick it on to someone I know through my Facebook friends, through my Twitter friends. And in fact, I read an article, must be about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, with one of the top marketers at Coca-Cola, who was saying that the absolute key to success in marketing online these days is make everything you do shareable. And to me, I read two things into that. Shareable is, I've got to like it. It's got to be interesting in the first place, otherwise it's not going to be shareable. And secondly, in somewhere, in some sort of format that can be flicked on through my network. And you might recall in our first interview, we talked about advertising versus content marketing. The thing about shareable content is, if I share it, my friends are going to be more open to your piece of content that I'm sharing than if you were paying money to advertise it at them, because it's coming through a trusted source to them, someone like them, well, fairly much like them. So there's a lot more trust when a friend passes something on than an advertiser, because advertisers obviously are going to give you the Walt Disney version of their business. But if I've liked something, then my personal integrity is on the line with my friends if I bother them in passing it on.
Definitely. And just a note on the WordPress. We mentioned WordPress a couple of times, and my listeners will remember we had an episode about WordPress a few weeks ago. So if you want a bit more information on WordPress, you can go back and check that out. So now that sort of people know that blog's a good place to start, what's ways that business owners can brainstorm ideas for this content they're going to be creating?
There are so many different ways to do this. If you've got a website that's been going for a while, one of the most obvious things is to look at your analytics, I imagine Google Analytics or whatever, and have a look deep into the search terms that have brought people to your website. Because apart from just your business name, which is likely to be there towards the top, you're going to find questions and phrases people have been typing into. And to me, that is a signal that this is the sort of content that people are looking for. And so that's one place to start. There's another search engine, and I'm hoping the name will come back to me in a moment. Even though I work in this field all the time, I'm not given to all the latest hip names on everything, and they go in one ear and out the other. But I'll follow up for the show notes. There's a search engine that allows you to, say, throw in some URLs, some web addresses for, let's say, 10 or so of your closest competitors. And it actually goes through them one by one, and it looks for where and how often each page or piece of content on their website has been shared in social media. Now, to me, or social networks, to me that's fascinating, because you're going to get a good sense instantly in your sector of what sort of articles are resonating with people out there. And you'll say, wow, this has gone crazy on Twitter, or there's a lot of activity. We can produce something like that. So that gives you an idea on what the market's after. Another thing that I find useful, are you going to ask me something then?
I was just going to say that I think I've heard of that search engine also, and we'll definitely have a link in the show notes once we figure out which one it is. But
yeah, it'll come to me midway through, another coffee and it'll be right. The other thing that I like using, another Google tool actually,